Okay, this is Lab 4 out of the Network Plus N10-008. This is configuring interface settings. We're going to do it on hub, we're going to do it on unmanaged switch, and we're going to do it on a managed switch using the GNS3 lab environment. So, let me go ahead and split this, drag my instructions over to the side, and we shall begin. Hopefully I can make it through this one without any mistakes. First one we're going to do, they're going to say the dock. This is the dock. Okay, it's kind of like our taskbar. So they want you to select GNS3. Make sure as you finish those, you go to your instructions and select, the check mark. All right, so here what they want you to go is go into recent projects, go to hub, select OK. Of course, I didn't have to do that. I guess it thought I was done. And then click this. Yes, I want to start. That's what we're going to have to do in all three labs. So everything should go green. Okay, so now we're done with step 2. We're just done with step 3. It says right-click PC1 and select console. This is their command line interface for this type of environment. We call it command line interface. Some people call it terminal. These are calling a console. Normally it's what it's done on a switch. Right, so in PC1, they just say here, just type in help. And it shows you the different commands and different things that you can do, set up DHCP and so on. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to run the ping command. We're going to ping 10.0.0.2 and hit enter. And this better give us connection because we do have a connection, okay? So now we're going to go back to the terminal again. We're going to say, hey, do we have any problems here? See, there's a software update. Just cancel it. Don't worry about that. Right, so the next thing they're going to want us to do is to try and ping 3. Now, really what this is like in a realistic environment done virtually. It would be like you've got cables. You know the cables are good. You've terminated the ends, you've tested them, and now you're plugging them in, and you want to make sure everything's plugged into like the PC, into the wall plate, into the patch panel, and into the switch. And then when you do the ping, it's supposed to return a reply if there's a good connection. So this is a pretty good little bit lab. So we're going to do ping for 3, and I'm just going to up arrow once to make it easy instead of typing all that stuff out. And we shouldn't get a reply here because obviously no cable's connected. So the next step we're going to do is go back to the GNS3, and we're going to select this one, because you're leaving that terminal window open. And this basically is just what they call add a link, okay? So we're going to add a link between PC3, and then we're going to connect it to, obviously, the hub. So when we go to PC3, there's only going to be one network card, so you're going to use Ethernet 0. You're going to connect it up here to the hub, click on it, and they're going to say select Ethernet 3. Just kind of follow through, make sure that you don't make any of those mistakes. Now, they want us to right-click the hub. Now remember, a hub, when you go to configure, notice there's no console. There's a reason. It's a layer 1 device. There's no intelligence. It's just a repeater. Okay? Number of ports, 8 ports. Okay, good. Cancel. That's the next step. So they want you to go to that link between PC3 and the hub, right-click on it, and start capture, which click OK on this next one. And there you go, Wireshark pops up. So go back to the terminal. Easiest way to go, it's right there. If there's multiple terminals, I'll show you that when it pops up. So make sure it says PC1, good. Now we're going to try and ping the 10.0.0.3, and I'm going to do that, just up arrow, minus C, count, and the count is going to be 1 ping. And in the background, you should have seen something populate. So I'm going to read what they have on the instructions. It says switch to the Wireshark window and observe the traffic generated by the probe by selecting each frame in turn. Pay close attention to the source and destination addresses or MAC addresses used by each frame. Okay, where they're talking about is right here. Like here, that's a broadcast, all Fs. That's where we're sending it out to. Remember, the hub, it's going to go to everybody, and this is going to be our our source. So next one says an ARP request frame sent as a broadcast from PC1. That's exactly what happens. We look here, it says an ARP response from PC2 identifying the MAC addresses associated with the requested IP addresses. Notice you have two different MAC addresses here. That was our original one in the first one. This is theirs because this is the reply. It says ICMP request and reply frames generated by the ping command. These frames are sent as unicast. That's talking about here. They're doing a ping. Because first of all, they had to discover where they were at. It's like putting a brand new switch in play. Now, step 16 says, what is the layer 2 address of the ARP reply? This is the ARP request. This is the ARP reply. Always make sure that you know that. And it says, write your answer in the form that it is, which is going to be the destination, which is going to be 00:50:79:66:00. And then when you go ahead and type that in and you select score, your score will come up green as long as you typed it up correct. Now we're going to leave the Wireshark window open and we're going to go back to the PC1 terminal window. That's the terminal window, PC1, make sure. And we're going to do ping to 2. And I'm just going to kind of fudge a little bit, and I'm going to up arrow and backspace. You can type it in however you want to do it. Make sure the spaces are there and do that, and you'll see 2 more that actually took place in the background. Now, switch back to Wireshark and observe the traffic generated by the probe. Remember that you are viewing traffic seen by PC3 node with the IP address of 10.0.0.3. In other words, we were going between 1 and 2, and 3 heard it. In a switch environment, that would never happen. In a hub environment, yes, it will. So it said, note that PC3 can sniff unicast traffic addressed to other nodes. A hub works like a multi-port repeater and all nodes in the same collision domain. So everyone that we've seen connected to that hub is in the same collision domain. They're in the exact same broadcast domain. This means that all nodes see all traffic, but ignore any frames not addressed to them. It says, observe the latest ICMP request, not the last, the request. And what is the layer 2 destination address? Right in, okay? There is the destination. Make sure that you pay attention to that. It is 00:50:79:66:68:01. And once you select that and you score it, it should come up correct. Okay, now it says in the GNS3 app, right-click the link from the PC3 and select Stop Capture. So let's go back to GNS3. Right here's the link. There we go, Stop Capture. Had a little bit of a delay, which you'll see every now and then. Now, it says close Wireshark. So just click on the Wireshark, go up here, little red X, and quit without saving. And then they want you to click the score button in step 23 to make sure that everything is wired correctly. Really, what did you configure? Just this. So you'll get success, ping reply received. So now we go on to the next page. Now we're going to do a managed switch, or unmanaged switch, sorry. We haven't gotten that far yet. So go up here, come down here to unmanaged switch, select it. And you're back to the same situation. Click this to get everything started. Now mine's a little off center, so I'm just going to drag this down here at the bottom. Notice you got one switch here. Switch 2 is connected to absolutely nothing. PC4 is connecting to nothing. All these are all connected to switch 1. So step 3 says right-click switch 1 and configure. Okay, now notice, yes, I mean, you're really not going to be able to do some of this. This is because this is a lab environment. So let me read this stuff to you. It says this simulation software does actually allow for some limited configuration to implement VLAN segmentation. However, there is no console-based access or any opportunity to further configure the switch interfaces. For our purpose, this is similar to an unmanaged desktop switch. Select cancel, and now we'll go to work. So now we want to right click the link between the switch and PC3, select capture, and just go ahead and select OK when the warning pops up. And now there we got Wireshark. So now we got to go back to GNS3. We've closed it, okay? So that terminal's not there. So go back here, right click on PC1 and select console. Because now we're going to actually do a little bit of configuration. Now, in this one, we're going to type in ping 10.0.0.2, and we're going to use the -C for 1, and we're going to do this. Now, every time you close out a terminal window and open up a new one, you can't be doing the up arrow. That's only for ones that you haven't closed yet. So, switch back to Wireshark. What type of traffic did we see? Obviously, we've seen broadcast only, because your options were broadcast only, broadcast and unicast, or no traffic is captured. Click score, they say correct. Say in the PC terminal window, they want you to run the ping command. Now some people will click the type, the T button, and it'll type in automatically. Sometimes it just doesn't work real well in these type of environments, so I typically type it in. Ping 10.0.0.3, and then I do the -C for a count of 1, and I hit enter. It says the unicast, ARP reply, and ICMP probes are captured because they are addressed to the PC3 node, right? The use of the switch isolates collision domains. Each switch port is a separate collision domain, meaning that each node can use the full bandwidth of the network media in full duplex mode. Says if there are insufficient ports, switches can be interconnected to extend the network. In other words, add in another switch. So now we are at step 10, where we're going to go back over here to devices. Make sure you're in GNS, okay, GNS3, because they're going to get to the point where they're going to expect you to kind of know what you're doing, all right? So here, add a link. Now when you go to add a link, it's going to say select switch 2 and select Ethernet 0. Now it says select switch 1. So we're wiring a cable between the two, right? So now what are we going to do? We're going to select it, and we're going to select Ethernet 0. This appears to be maybe only a 4-port switch. Only 4 ports are enabled. Right. So next thing we want to do is select PC4, select Ethernet 0. Remember, there's only one network card in that particular situation. Go to switch 2 and select Ethernet 1. Looks like they're both 4-port switches. Now we need to disable this link. So go back here, select this so that that goes away. And now you're on step 14, which we're going to go back here. We need PC1 terminal window. Make sure it says PC1, which it should. And you are going to ping 10.0.0.4 with a count of 1. Let's see if we get a response. Yes, we do. That's what should have been. Now, basically what you want you to do is select score, just to make sure that everything's wired correctly, which it should be. Okay, now it says, and of course you did, if you were watching Wireshark, had it been open, you would have seen it do something, okay? In the GNS3 app, back here, go back here and right-click this link, and let's stop that capture. says close the Wireshark window, and here we go again. We're going to close it, and we're going to quit without saving. So now we're done with the unmanaged switch. Now we're going to configure the managed switch. So you're going to go right back to the same place. You're going to go back to File. You're going to go to Manage Switch. And obviously, what do? We want to start them. Everything should go green. And this happens to be a Cumulus environment, right? So what you're going to do, step 3, is right-click this. And you're going to select Console, not Configure. Now, I'm going to pause it for a moment here because this takes about a minute or two to load. Okay, it's up and running. So, what we're going to do here now that you got the Cumulus running, is you're going to type in Cumulus, and then the password will be Cumulus also. I think I typed something wrong. I know I did. Nope. I didn't have the cursor back over there. All right, so the password's going to be the same thing. It's going to come up and say you need to change the password. Use that same password again, Cumulus. And then we're going to use their favorite password, capital P. Remember, on these passwords on this, the P's the only thing that's capitalized. A, $, W0RD. It's going to want you to retype it. And now you're logged in. All right. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to type in net show interface all. Now, really it's showing you, and this is unusual, this shouldn't have been popped up like this. I don't even know, because normally you actually have to set these configurations, but okay. But you see nothing's configured, so I'm okay with that. So next step we're going to do is like a 3-step thing here on 7. The first thing you're going to do is go net add interface SWP, no space now, 1 through 6 space MTU for maximum transmission unit 1500, because normally this isn't even listed here, but that's fine. All right, so the next step that you do is you do net pending, and this is only in their environment. Most people don't do it this way, but this is for the lab. And then you want to commit those. Basically, you're saving them. Net commit. And when you get down to this point, it will pop back up. Now, it's asking me if I want to extend the window, which is yes, I did, because I am taking my time through this so I can explain it. Now, I'm just going to up arrow, once I get back over here, to show interface all, because that's what they're going to have us type in again. Now notice, to me, that's why I'm saying the first step that it did, it messed it up. I don't know how it did it, because I have shut this lab down. I did not save it, but it went through and did a few things. Okay, it actually brought them up. So earlier we should not have seen this. It was like maybe I typed in the wrong thing. Let me go take a quick look at this. This is saving it from a previous lab, and it shouldn't have done that. Take a quick look. Timestamp. All right. We'll go forward from here. It's just a little bit of a goof up in the lab, but it is working. Right, so the next one we're going to do is bridge them so they can talk to each other. So, next thing is do net add. You're going to type in bridge twice. First of all, you're creating a bridge. Now you want to bridge them. And then ports, you're not going to do all of them, SWP 1 through 4. Always make sure you've typed in everything correctly. Net pending. And I knew that because I fat fingered it. And you're going to do net commit again. All you're doing is saving it. Now I'm going to do show interface all. Now we see it. Okay, that's the way it should look. These are set up as access. That means you can plug a network cable into them and hook it to a PC or a server. That's what an access switch is, all right? And it shows you that these 4 are bridged. We are going to run into a little bit of a problem. These 2 are just kind of sitting there by default. All right, so it says ports 1 through 4 have been configured as access ports within the same logical bridge. These ports are now all in the same broadcast domain, and hosts attached to them should be able to communicate. So now we're going to go back to GNS3. We're going to go back to good old console 1. And notice I clicked on it, no console. Why? We haven't opened it yet. So right here, you've got to right click on PC1, open up console. This is where we're going to be typing in commands. We're going to do ping. Each one of them is going to only use 1, so we're going to do 10.0.0.2 with a -C and 1. Next one we're going to do is 10.0.0.3 with a count of 1. And those return. Now the next one we're going to do ping 10.0.0.4. Oops. I say with a count of 1. This one should come back and not give you a reply. That's what they're expecting in this lab. So it says in the GNS3 workspace, in the topology summary, expand PC4 and identify which switch port is connected to. So when you come up here, it says, oh, it is connected to Ethernet 0. Okay, that is a problem. That's not the one it should be connected to. So here's where they're kind of expecting you to kind of understand what they're doing. Right, it says to remedy the issue, connect PC4 to SWP4 on the Cumulus switch. You need to delete the existing link first. So this is where they're hoping you've kind of figured this out. So you come up here, you delete the link. How do you add in a link? Right here. So remember, there's only one thing here. It's Ethernet 0, and it says to SWP4. Now, go back here, click that again. And now if you go ahead and click step 15, and you click score, you should get a green. What you should get is this right here. Success ping reply received. So in other words, when you did that, you actually configured right. So that could have been a bad cable, or it could have been connected in here incorrectly. So different things like that. It says select the Cumulus terminal. Okay. Now we know I just double click here. Or I just click once, it doesn't really matter. So this one I select Cumulus. I want to make sure I'm on the right one when I do this. Now what are we going to do? We're going to do net show interface SWP1. No space in there now. And it should show you as up, which it is. And now it's going to ask you enter the link speed exactly as displayed in the command output. So as you go down through reading this, you come down here, if you kind of pay attention, it says maximum transmission unit, that's 1500 bytes. The speed is 1000. Basically that's gigabit. Okay, so you're going to type in 1000, you're going to click check, and you should get the good old correct check mark. Now the next thing we're going to do in this particular terminal, in the Cumulus terminal, is net show, bridge max. I believe it is plural on this one. Yes, it is. And there's your MAC address table. Now, these are permanent links. These are actual ones that are signed to the port. These are the devices that are connected to it. So when it says permanent, that is the actual switch itself. So it says what is, because if you read it in the book, on the instructions, it says the permanent addresses are the switch interface MACs. The other values are the MACs of the connected endpoints. An endpoint's a node, it's a host, it's a PC, it's a server, whatever you want to call it. What is the MAC address of the host attached to SWP4? Write your answer in the format, in other words, the MAC address. So what do? We come up here, it is. And obviously it is 00:79:79:66:68:03. And if you click score, as long as you typed it in right, you'll get correct. Now the rest of the lab is just questions. And so when you get to here, it says, what type of device connects end systems within the same collision domain? Well, a hub is the only one that are in the same collision domain, because a switch has individual collision domains. So when you go here, you should check it. You should get it right. True or false, all hosts attached to an unmanaged switch are in the same broadcast domain. Yes, because you can't VLAN it. So they're all in the same broadcast domain. That's true. So let's check that one, make sure. Yep. What information is available in the MAC address table? Remember, MAC address works as a data link layer, which is layer 2. The only thing that's there is going to be MAC addresses, which are layer 2 addresses. You select that, you have completed the lab, and you go to grade. All right, that's it for this particular lab.